What's the reason of the language? Why do people have invented language? Some use language without words. Some use language with words. Some use language with images. What's the real meaning of a language? If we were able to communicate without talk, the language would not exist. I mean, the verbal language. But not all language are verbal. Here is a happy thought. I want you to give me a happy thought. Hello? The number is 473-5386.
Nice.
I want you to give me a happy thought. Hello?
It's not enough.
Hello?
Hello?
473-5386.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi,
You are on.
Hi,
A happy thought.
Oh, I don't have a happy thought, but I have a secret to tell you.
No, it's about a happy thought. Hello? 473-5386. A happy thought. Hello? 473-5386. A happy thought.
A happy thought is I'm having sex right now.
All right. A happy thought.
Hello?
A happy thought. Hello? 473-5386. A happy thought. A happy thought.
I'm happy because Abel Ramirez fucked me last night.
All right. A happy thought. Hello? A happy thought. Some of our happy thoughts are not being able to be said out loud. Some of our happy thoughts are silent thoughts. All right? I'm hearing a lot of silent, happy thoughts.
Your tits on my face.
A happy thought, 473-5386. A happy thought.
I'm very happy.
All right. A happy thought, 473-5386. All right. Giggling is a happy thought. And talking gibberish without having any real meaning is a happy thought. A happy thought, 473-5386. A happy thought, 473-5386.
The world is a beautiful place.
All right. And you are in it.
Yes. And
Okay.
that's a happy thought.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I don't know if you are familiar with Star Magazine. Are you? They talk about Oprah's diet for thinner thighs, hips, and fanny. they talk about sexy picture of Brad Pitt doesn't want you to see because they are too sexy. But why wouldn't want you to see them if they are that sexy? But I guess, certain sexy things are not to be seen. All right, Whitney Blast, stay away from me till you clean up your act. That's what she's saying to her husband. I was Evil Bomber's lover. He got real angry and snapped at me. Kissing is for wimps. Did you know that? All right, she goes. Blonde helps Hume Cronin over his grief. That's one of the things that blonde do. And what people are wearing, those wonderful and tacky costumes, people are paying a fortune. That makes you the best well-dressed or the worst well-dressed or the worst dresser. Raquel Welch saying, no man can satisfy me. Can you satisfy Raquel Welch? 473-5386.
Hello?
Can you satisfy Raquel Welch?
Yes.
All right. Would you be able to satisfy Raquel Welch? 473-5386.
Hello?
Yes. Would you be able to? What do you think? Why do you think Raquel Welch is not satisfied? What do you think she's missing?
Your toes smell like polio cheese.
All right. Raquel Welch, no man can satisfy me. What do you think is missing in Raquel Welch's love life?
My dick.
All right, that's good. We're wrapping this one with that, okay? Okay. All right, I brought to you a tape from Chicago, that I did over there on the Jerry Springer, so I want to show you a little bit of it. And I bought, different things that somehow we're going to talk about. And would you like to see the tape? Hello? Would you like to see the tape from Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah? Right now?
Yeah, we want to see it. Right now.
All right.
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's see 3 minutes. What's going on? I want to check with
So?
what's going on.
What's going on? What's going on, Coco? Coco, baby, Coco.
Oh, I'm like that. My wire is like getting tangled up.
Coco, are you hurt?
What?
Are you hurt?
No, I'm not hurt. Why? You want to hurt me?
Oh, no, I can only love you.
Yeah? Who is this?
This is Michael.
Hi, Michael. How can you put on my you? What?
Careful. Don't bruise your neck.
All right. Okay.
We love you, Coco.
All right. So what's happening in your life?
We're lying in bed watching you.
Yeah? Okay. So.
We can't believe how much you made. Lovely and natural.
Happy thoughts. Okay.
You're one big happy thought.
Okay. All right. What are you doing? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?
Pot.
What?
Do you smoke pot?
No, I don't.
Oh, you
I
don't know
never-
what you're missing.
What?
You don't know what you're missing.
But I look like I'm on drugs, you
Yeah.
know? But I'm not doing anything, you know?
Looks like you smoke pot, Coco.
That's why I'm not doing it, because I look like I'm doing it. I don't need to do it.
I saw you on the Jerry Springer show the other day. You look like you were smoking pot before.
I know.
That's right.
I was very
Hello, everybody, and welcome. We've got an exciting show for you today. My name is Danny, and I'm the host for the show. So let's start with the song from the Minstrels.
Everybody can be happy. We can make each other happy. Look for someone to make happy. Then you will be happy too. Together we can all be happy. With a little love. Everybody can be happy. With a little love. Together we can all be happy. With a little love. Everybody can be happy. With a little love.
Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We've got an exciting show for you today. My name is Danny, and I'm the host for the show. So let's start.
You know a planet, and it was from a band that I was previously in named Nobody, and they wrote the instrumental part, and I wrote the melodies vocally wise and most of the lyrics. And I just wanted to get that across. And God's for real, and please believe in God. He loves you all, and that's it. All the trees that once stood tall, they are gone now. We've watched them all fall. The skies are red, the seas turn gray. Don't you want to save our planet, because it would be good of us? We've got to join and save the world. I think we should change. Bosworth on guitar. Don't you want to save our planet, because it would be good of us? We've got to join and save the world. Life is so beautiful when we are destroying nature. Man is a parasite on his you know we are going to cease? Don't you want to save our planet because it would be good of us? Don't ever litter anymore.
But we are going. Oh my lord, look at me.
What is that? Why is that?
That is from double accessing a camera, I'm gonna guess.
Are you just staying like that then? Okay,
Nope.
There you go.
Double access of a camera. Pain in the ass, Windows, stupid bullshit feature. I mean, look, I apologize for interrupting what is an extraordinary singer, as we do. I feel terrible about it every day, and I know that everyone was really looking forward to hearing the rest of that. I get it. I just wanted to be sorry. How are you doing Sunday? You having a good time? How? By the way, I just want to say,
Yes.
the Butler video is excellent.
Thank you. I was up till 5 doing it, and I wasn't joking when I said I was too tired for today, but here we are. You get up after 2 hours of sleep, and then all of a sudden Brooks is on your computer. Like, boom! Hey, guess what? There's 100 people in your room. Great.
It's the way it works. It's the way it works. And thank you everyone for joining us. As you are probably guessing by being here, you are joining Brooks and Sunday on the Fold, which, we were watching Blade Runner, specifically the original with the origami symbolism. And Sunday said to me, that would be a great name for a podcast.
That's a lie. I said it was, we were going down names. He hated to lose names. I said, hey, The Fold. Oh, The Fold's taken. In The Fold. There we go. I haven't even read In The Fold. Or The Fold. It's called The Fold.
Le Pli.
Le Pli. Le Pli. Yeah, apparently it's the worst translated of Deleuze's books, too, so...
Unless
I never
you
will
happen
read
to
In The
find,
Fold.
If you find the Daniel Smith edition, it's one of the better translated, which tends to be the world of Daniel Smith.
Yeah, but it's digital. I like having hard copies of things. That annoys me.
Well,
it's the same thing with
scream and yell.
Apparently, the best translation of Solaris is also only available digitally. It's very annoying.
Yep.
The Dune Encyclopedia. They had a paperback version on Amazon for a little while, and that was taken down.
Slick, thank you very much for the very generous donation.
Thank you very much, Slick. All right. I sort of feel like I'm back in college, and I've just arrived in seminar after an all-nighter writing a paper, and I'm running off coffee and dates, and I'm hoping my bowels will contain themselves for the duration of the next 2 hours. What are we covering, Brooks?
Well, I figure we kind of have, look, we started a story yesterday, and it is the story of Signal and the DoD. I don't think there's a lot else in there, actually. We've got other things to discuss. We have the story of...
Well, we have the Navajo thing. We have the Navajo being
and
interned.
Citizenship, which is fucking crazy.
I think I missed the citizenship thing. What's the citizenship thing?
We'll get to it, because once we start, you're not going to want to stop. But it's, again, I think... that one, fuck. Oh, that one breaks my fucking brain. Citizenship.
You mean the Navajo citizenship thing? The way you said it sounded like citizenship. I was like, is Elon requiring people to have implants to vote now?
Apologies. I mean a citizenship. I say the word slightly differently.
I'm Googling citizenship right now like an idiot.
Man, you are fucking tired.
I am very fucking tired.
Look, didn't you learn that gender is performative and that you choose to perform it? And
I am not experiencing any choices here.
By the way, just the beginning 10 minutes of the video was very, very thorough.
By the way, apparently my audio is very loud.
You're always loud.
Yeah, but it's like peaking apparently.
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
I wonder if, because I had a
No, you're down slightly.
Really?
Well, you're
weird.
You're slightly below me.
Is my audio quality low?
I don't think so. But maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Look, we'll see if they yell at us some more.
Because we had I had a power outage the other day, so I wonder if that affected things. I had to reset my box here. Hang on. I'm gonna try to turn this on and off.
My money is we're only going to get through 2 stories today anyway, by the way. Like, that's pretty much my presumption at this point. And I think the Signal story is going to be it, to be perfectly frank. As much as I would love to say we're going to do a bunch of stories, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Okay.
Because
there were hearings apparently that we have to go through.
Yes, we do. And one moment. I'll just toss the article up.
While you're doing that, guess what just came out?
Oh, you mentioned the spiritual successor to
Cruelty Squad. Psycho Patrol R. What got me interested in it, though, is they're talking about the Orgon in the description. So I think he's doing some Wilhelm Reich stuff.
Just like he
should be.
Yeah, we have very differing opinions on that.
No, it'll be great. It's one of those like you don't have the right approach to these things. You think a bad representation of theory in a game is a bad thing. That's a good thing. That is fodder.
No, I don't. That's not at all my position at all.
All right.
It's just not my position at all. That's a whole other thing. We can do that sometime if you'd like. But maybe not right now.
No, I'm booming. Apparently I'm very loud. So
fucking really?
Apparently, yeah.
Am I not loud?
You may not be loud. That's a possibility, but you would control that on your end. I don't have the ability to control that.
You're not even hitting the reds in OBS right now.
It sounds crunchy.
Sounds crunchy?
That doesn't make any sense.
I have no filters on Sunday right now whatsoever.
You know what? I wonder if it reset my I bet it did.
But I'm not seeing it on my side.
No. Hang on. I think I know what it is. Because I think when it reset, it defaulted to the first device that it could. Where the fuck is my stream mode thing off? There we go. Okay. It defaulted to the first device that it could detect. I think that's what it did.
Good lord. Sounds like Sunday's boosted. I fucking dropped. That's crazy. Like am I sounding?
I'm going to lower my volume. How am I now?
To keep talking better. It's actually
testing. 1, 2, 3. Am I coming through more clearly or less clearly?
Sounds better. I think better. Slightly. But again, it's hard for me to know because apparently I have no idea.
Okay. Is your mic on Sunday? Yes, everything's on. Everything is definitely on.
Look, we're leftists. We don't understand how technology works. And I make that as a joke because
speak for yourself. Apparently, I'm literally Friedrich Nietzsche.
Oh, Lord. And soon you'll be Judith Butler, don't worry. You know, famous anti-trans Judith Butler.
Famous anti-trans Judith Butler.
Yeah. As a side note, though, because just before we get into this, because I guess at this point I'm trying to delay as long as possible because I watched the hearings all the way through this morning. And
oh my God, why would you do that?
Because it was.
That's why you didn't want to cover. That's why you didn't want to cover this. Oh
no! I watched it. There's not much to speak of. We can go through it. I'm a politics wonk. That's what I do. Is I have C-SPAN running on the background. I like C-SPAN, but I just do want to mention because in my video, and I think in we've talked about this. A lot of people group Philosophy Tube and ContraPoints sort of in the same type of YouTuber, and you hear people do this a lot. ContraPoints' new video came out. ContraPoints actually has...
Yeah, you told me it was pretty good.
It's actually citing real shit that took a little bit longer to read, that's slightly more complex. There's, like, even in watching, in order to critique it, it would be a critique of adding on to her points, not subverting her points. I was like, it felt nice. I made a comment the last time that ContraPoints' last video, which I did a response to on Desire, was lacking in a lot of different ways. This felt like Contra had her energy back. She was going, and again, it was very, very good. I really liked it.
Her last few videos. Jesus, I can't even speak. Her last few videos. Everyone, calm down. were pretty bad. They were a combination of overly long, dull, they weren't saying anything, and often their actual positions were actually really terrible, amounting for be nice to the rich people flouting COVID restrictions and be friendly to J.K. Rowling. The recent one sounds like she's actually done work.
Yes, very much.
She's gone into her cave, she's recovered, and she's come back out, ayahuasca'd up like what if Altist, and now she's enlightened.
Well, and she does a section on
Did that
symbolism.
make you angry? Did that make you angry? It was supposed to make you angry.
I mean, I am alone in the room, always angry at everyone.
That's fair.
I actually really enjoyed the video. Like, again, I think there's a lot of springboards for people to go off of. She has a section on symbolism that is very good for the depth that she goes to. She has some great examples, and it talks through the way that symbols become the pattern that we're finding rather than the opposite. It's a beginning of a critique of representation, which was nice to see, because you don't see that often in these things. And all I could think is, while watching it, is like there's this wall of conspiracy posting shit. It's like, again, she overdoes beautiful production value, which I appreciate. And all I could think is like, do
you think Philosophy Tube's ripping her off?
Well, no, I was just not ripping her off. It's like, this is ContraPoints at home, is all I could think. Like, it just was really weird that it happens to be a wall of pictures with shit and words drawn on them behind, trying to make a point about the nature of the conspiracy theories in MAGA.
Well, at the exact same time, too.
Well, yeah.
Like, at the exact same time.
And it's not like Contra puts these out in 3 weeks. Like, these take her forever.
Look, in the spirit of conspiracy theories as a theme, I'm gonna assume that Philosophy Tube did that on purpose. She has an inside person, and they're just stealing stuff.
I think it's a safe
stealing
bet.
stuff right off the wall.
And just doing the simplest shit version of it. And again,
although speaking of stealing stuff off the wall, Signal. You were going to say something. I cut you off.
Yeah, no, Signal. So to just top line the conversation, and we're going to have the video is going to be up, I think, tomorrow, our conversation yesterday. But the very short version is that a number of very, very high-level government officials, like the tops of them, communicated on Signal to discuss whether or not to bomb Yemen and how and when, and also to shit on Europe and also kind of Israel in a weird way, and show discord within the administration. In doing so, as they were doing it, they invited
an Atlantic.
They invited one of the
journalist.
main editors of the Atlantic, who, granted, is not a left-winger. Like, this is not some weird thing. They invited someone who's like, extremely pro-Israel, has very particular views on the Middle East in his past, but he's a good reporter. As far as like reporters go, like he has a bias, but his reporting, I think, is still very solid. They invited him to the group chat while he was in the parking lot of a grocery store, and he assumed he was being trolled by some Veritas asshole types. And so he didn't say anything. He just waited. And then it turned out to be completely accurate. The White House has agreed that, yes, the chat is real. It looks like he was invited and he shouldn't have been. And since then, the way that the Trump administration has handled it, I think, is fairly magical.
It's a combination of they didn't handle it. When Trump was questioned about it by a journalist, he seemed to legitimately not understand what happened. He seemed to legitimately be confused, and I actually bought it. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible he's got more guile than I give him credit for, and he was.
Or it's possible he doesn't understand anything because he has advanced dementia.
True. Speaking of advanced dementia, did you see Hassan Piker's tweet about it?
No. Should I?
I'll pop. We can pop it on the screen.
Pop it on. Let's take.
Pop
a look
it on. I put it in submissions. Take a look.
All right.
I want to know what you think about this. This makes me mad. It made me mad. I want to know what your response is.
All right, 2 seconds. Gotta get to the right channel. I think generally, if the answer is tweet, I tend to not care as much as I should because I find it frustrating, but... Jeffrey Goldberg refusing to dump all the text messages in the Houthi Signal chat is exactly why the National Security Advisor had his personal phone number. It is precisely the problem with fake journalists at legacy publishers. They're stenographers for the State Department.
I mean, it's just...
I disagree with this. Pretty strongly, actually. Now, there's two ways to look at this.
I thought you would, yeah.
So there's two ways to look at it. One is that were I given this myself, I would personally actually have an issue and really have personal, like, tug of war. I would probably end up dumping all of it. The challenge becomes, with this State Department, with this president, I would be the one to go to jail for doing so, and no one would ever care. So that's probably why I probably would consider not doing it. But the idea that it's a fake journalist for not dumping all of it, there are multiple security assets that are in there. He outlined some of the things that are in there, including CIA agents and their full names. And
we're talking about assets, by the way. We're talking about personnel. We're not just talking about I think what's crucial here is we're not just talking about personnel that were in place because of the current administration now. You're probably not sympathetic to the last administration's handling this either. But the point is, the idea that this is quote-unquote stenographer for the State Department, he fucked them. Like, really hard by going public about this. He didn't have to. It actually was still very dangerous for him to publish what he did.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
and had he done it beforehand, again, I think he could have, and probably, it's tough to say what would have happened, but journalists, generally speaking, especially ones that are at this level of professionalism, you're talking about people who for 50 plus years have had hammered into their head the ethics of their job. And one of those things is that you do not report things that will get people killed. You do not report things that will undo, state apparatuses unless there's probative value that's counter to that. Again, the Pentagon Papers is basically my running example of this. Again, Mike Gravel, American hero as far as I'm concerned, for reading it into the Senate. But the way these things come about and how they go, there's actually a process to this. If everything got dumped, the ability for immediately Trump to go, hey, actually all of that was completely, declassified. Done. But now, and this is what happened today, is they outlined and we'll go through this bit by bit, but in the Senate confirmation, the Senate hearings today, they went through, hey, was there stuff in there that wasn't, classified, or what was classified? What was this? What was that? And because they don't know what's in the Signal chat, because it's been more than a week, because it's been deleted, because everything is a fucking nightmare in the hell world we live in, they don't know what was in that chat that this guy saw. So
but you know what's better? They don't know what other people have from this chat, because again, like, the fact that this guy was able to post those screenshots just informs you very clearly. Like, people can very easily record what's in this chat. People can say things under the false impression that they are under absolute security because, the people in charge have decided to use this, so obviously they know what they're doing. And they could have said even offhanded things, like the Israel comment. That's a big one. Like, that it seems small, but that's a big one.
There's a good chance that he noticed that the group was just not being used after the bombing, because this didn't happen like the night of the bombing. He waited a few days, and he noticed that, hey, actually, things are being deleted. The chat is going away. I mean, he waited as long as he needed to for them to not know what he captured or what was secured. And I mean, as far as I consider, he did the best of both worlds. Like, he was able to keep his ethical standards, which is important to journalism, by not leaking shit that could have been dangerous or, that could have gotten him like in an insane amount of trouble.
Yes.
But at the same time, he actually recorded enough info that we're able to have this thing become a story for the next 3 weeks as things drip out that were part of it, as new founded facts are a part of it. So Hassan, again, are you shocked that Hassan doesn't have the ability to sort of think 2 or 3 steps ahead?
I just think it's a remarkably dumb thing to say. That's all. I'm not shocked that I'm not even sure it's a matter of seeing several steps ahead. I think it's a matter of just goading the audience. I think they love this kind of thing. I think it's the kind of audience that goes for it.
The top reply, I think, is spot on. They're going to be pulled by the Senate Intelligence Committee after testimony, which they said they were doing today. Involved that no classified information was shared. It's not ideal for Twitch streaming, but sometimes it's better to be patient. Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. And all this weird, like, I've seen a lot of lefties doing the, he's pro-Israel, or he was in the, it's like, guys, can we not do that thing right now? Like, please, let's not do the.
Well, I mean, to be clear, like, the thing. Like criticizing journalists for being pro-Israel. Absolutely.
That's fine.
What I'm frustrated by is like you have the most pro-Israel administration imaginable right now. The most reckless one, the most pro-genocide one. This guy just fucked them. Maybe, just hypothetically. Let this one go. Just let this one have its own momentum. Don't provide pushback on this one. Because this is an arrow aimed at the heart of the people who are literally sending the bombs and the bullets and everything to Israel to do it.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, priorities, choose your battles, kind of thing.
Going after him for how this is being released is not it. Going after the fact that this is on signal, so we're not going to have any proof of any of it. The reason they're panicking and they're saying things like every answer in today's hearing was, I don't recall what was in there. I don't recall if that, like, because they don't know.
Do you know that there's a rule against using, like, non-secured unofficial devices for these kinds of conversations? I'm not aware of that rule. So it's like, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, you're the head of you're the director of national intelligence, and you're not aware of the rule that your office put into place? Like, it's that kind of like, hey guys, my favorite, I think the best is it ended out because I've been waiting for someone to ask the question, and the guy at the very end, God, I can't remember his name. Fuck. Asked Tulsi, hey, was this on your government issued device or on your personal device that you did this? And she said, I don't believe I'm allowed to answer that.
Really? Can we watch this? Can we just put this on?
Yeah, why not?
Seen this yet.
Why not? Why not? It's pretty fucking wild. I'm not going to be perfectly good at jumping around because it's its own hearing.
Well, let's just go through it. It's what, like an
2
hour?
seconds. Yeah.
If it gets boring when we get the gist full, we'll move on.
All right. Here it is. It's about 2 hours, but we won't go through all of it.
We won't go through the whole thing.
We can jump around a good amount.
With the intelligence needed to protect the American
I want to skip
people.
To that last question.
As more storms gather, America's intelligence capabilities.
Director policy was added.
The last set of questions is really, like, they're all good. I have to give a lot of credit to, one sec. It was, I believe, from Colorado, Bennett.
For holding this hearing, and thank you for being here. Mr. Director Ratcliffe, it sounds to me like your testimony today and the Secretary and the DNI's testimony is that there was nothing wrong at all with the signal thread that you were on.
Before we dive in, I want to just say how this story has morphed hilariously and the Trump response, because it's important to see that this is how they do what they do. The first thing is Trump, who didn't know about it, immediately just said that the Atlantic is garbage and that they lie a lot and they're involved in hoaxes. And of course, Pete Hegseth, who followed that up immediately by saying that this reporter particularly is a liar. It never happened. He makes things up. He was part of Russia. Don't believe anything. He's a hoaxer. And as he was saying that, the White House confirmed the conversation was real as he was saying that. And then now they're saying, well, there was nothing classified in it whatsoever. And we're going to jump around, so I kind of want to get to the other point because you'll hear it said a few times, is it's actually called controlled unclassified information. When information exists in the government, it doesn't mean that it has to be classified and anything else is affirmatively there. When information exists in the government, it is called controlled unclassified information. This is stuff that has to be declassified or classified. It's kind of things exist in that sort of weird state until. And during that, there are rules about how that is handled. It doesn't, it's got its own set. And again, Tulsi is aware of these things. She served on, I believe, I believe she's been in the intelligence community on a couple sides in a few ways. So she's just insanely full of shit throughout this entire conversation. They all are, but there you go.
On that, it didn't include any targeting information or battle sequence. That is your testimony. That's your testimony.
And that's what, again, they got them to agree to a bunch of stuff saying that it wasn't in there. But again, they don't know what was in there.
And I'm a little staggered that is your view, Director Ratcliffe. Does the CIA have any rules about handling of classified information? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Ratcliffe. Do you agree,
Secretary
of Defense Pete Hegseth said this morning when asked by members of the press what had happened, he said this morning in Hawaii that Atlantic Editor-in-Chief Jeff Goldberg is a, quote, deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of providing hoaxes time and time again. Do you share that evaluation, the Secretary of Defense's evaluation of Jeff Goldberg as a journalist?
Senator, I didn't see those comments. I don't know Jeff Goldberg.
So do you share that view of the Secretary of Defense?
Well, I don't have a view on.
Okay. Do you
say no?
Assuming that he has that view, I'm curious about whether you are the CIA director. Okay, this
is, I love it's the CIA
director.
The
CIA director is not aware of a major journalist who's been invited to a Signal group chat with the fucking vice president talking about bombing Yemen secretly. Holy fuck.
We're about to learn that the CIA director doesn't know a lot and straight up says that he doesn't know things. A thing that came to light is that the envoy to the Middle East for the United States was at the Kremlin. Yeah. Well, he was on this chat. Was at the Kremlin in Moscow. And they ask him, I think Bennett's the one they're going to ask him, did you know that that's where the envoy to the Middle East was while you were on this group chat with him? He goes, I was unaware of his movements. Like, you're the head of the CIA and the envoy to the Middle East? You don't know. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Oh my God.
Happened. We know it's happened. Did Jeff Goldberg somehow, did he create a hoax that allowed him to become part of this Signal thread? Please answer the question. You don't insult the intelligence of the American people. Did he?
This is, by the way, after an hour 30. The whole hearing.
We'll see bits of it. We'll see bits of it. We'll get there. Let's let the man talk.
No, I just want. Sorry, it's just we're an hour and 30 in, and it's important to note. Like, this has been the entire subject. This wasn't what this was called for. This is a normal intelligence hearing. But it just became about this the whole time. It's incredible.
Invite himself to the Signal thread.
I don't know how he was invited, but clearly he was added.
Clearly it was. Finish your sentence, please.
Clearly he was added to the Signal group. Your question is...
You don't know that the president's national security advisor invited him to join the Signal thread. Everybody in America.
Just imagine the fucking CIA director. It's like
you're not
like
alone.
He's giving him a fucking swirly.
It's really again. He's like, I'm aware he apparently was added. I don't know how he was added because again. The group chat deleted all of its messages after 7 days, so that's gone. It doesn't show after Signal deletes at some point. It's like Snapchat, you do this to hide bad behavior or certain things. So it's...
Yeah, unfortunately, whoever he was added to too late a group chat to, see all the nudes they were sharing with each other before, but...
Do you remember Hegseth? Or was it Hegseth? I can't remember if it was Hegseth. I think it was, who said specifically that this chat is OPSEC clear, I believe is
That was Hegseth, yeah.
So that's fucking amazing.
This is 100% OPSEC clear, I think is what he said.
I've seen conflicting reports about who added the reporter to the Signal messaging
it's
group.
Perfectly appropriate.
There's no conflicting reports. He's lying.
That there was a reporter,
but hang on,
especially one that the...
Hang on. I'm just like, as the CIA director, why would you ever, just for reasons of just your reputation, why would you ever say, I don't know? You're the CIA director. if you don't know something that anyone else in that room knows, you should be fired.
Well, there's actually a couple things, and OG Demi in the fucking chat nailed it. I just want to mention, because this isn't brought up directly, but it's hinted at a couple times. And it's a thing that is going to come out, I think, over the course of time. Signal is what you use to be a source to journalists anonymously. So, if person X adds journalist Y, who's a famous editor of Atlantic Magazine, to a fucking Signal chat because he's already friends with him on Signal, he has leaked shit to him in the past. Like
Possibly.
that's a very, very safe thing to presume.
It's a strong possibility.
It's a very good possibility. And
given who he was invited to a group chat with, which is different from leaking.
Yes.
My inclination is to think that he was not given tips without the knowledge of the people involved, which might have been possibly the cause of the confusion for his involvement. Here's a thought. What if communication is so bad that they didn't realize how top secret this was? That not all people who are participants of this recognize how top secret this was in the course of filtering people to come in.
I have close experience with this. My my long time roommate in Colorado, my oldest friend, he ended up becoming an IT guy for the state in a couple different departments and had to go through clearance. My uncle, who's retired as a 4-star general from the Army, he had to go through clearance, which meant my family had to go through clearance because you don't get to do this alone. People who go through the process of proper clearance and who are inside of any of these loops, you have it drilled every single day how hardcore this shit is. They build in each of these people's homes that are in this. They have built an area that is a skiff because these are people who need that. So imagine in your home, the government comes and builds a special room just for you to be able to communicate in top secret. I don't know if at that point you can go, yeah, we don't really know what's top secret. You have it drilled into your head all the time. They take insane pains. Of all people, Pete Buttigieg, I don't know if you want to watch it. He did a video. He doesn't do a lot of responses, and he doesn't swear a lot, and he did here because it's, in his words, fucking insane that they are claiming that maybe this wasn't secret. It's like you at the
here's
at this
the thing,
level,
though.
you
Here's
have
the
it
thing,
beaten
though.
into your head.
But here's the thing. If you have, and I think this again comes down to like the incompetence of Trump's leadership, which is if you have every single government department afraid of rocking a boat lest you come into the attention of Musk and Doge and have your entire apparatus just gutted blindly. They don't even know who they're firing or why. Some of your staff has the last name Gay, perhaps. I don't know. You may not, for example,
the gayest atom bomb ever. Sorry, it's all I can think every time is like the fabulous bomber.
Well, what were the names of the bombs that dropped? It was Fat Man and Little Boy.
Fat Man and Little Boy.
And they're gay.
They're gay, apparently.
But I do wonder though if like people aren't getting briefed on stuff because people are terrified to actually make themselves known entities to the president. And I do wonder if there's a total breakdown of communication in the upper levels of government as a result. Because like what is happening? You have a billionaire going through who apparently has more pull than actual like members of the executive, who's just going around just destroying entire branches of government. So it's like, okay, hey, we've got some regulations for you. It's like, oh, I bet you do.
And again, it's
put your name here, please.
It's worth at some point. We probably won't watch it, but watch how Pete Buttigieg talks about the nature of what top secret is. And it's one of those things that I think is really fascinating because it is one of the very long-standing state sort of bureaucratic orgs that all of these people, it's in one way or another, especially someone like Tulsi, are familiar with and know. And the rules around all these things are, again, very, very tightly kept. And this is where I'm torn. I am a radical truth type person. I don't have a belief that we should have top secret. I don't like any of this shit. But this is where you start going into the way disinformation works and propaganda works from the state. you only are getting parts of it, if they're actively part of a Signal group chat that's being destroyed, if they are choosing what is making it out into the world, then it's not about fighting for, oh, this is good because something leaked. No, it's bad because we realized this is how little things are leaking. That's why I don't believe that the Atlantic editor being added was anything but a mistake. There's no way they intended to do that, because he was shocked too. If you read the article, it's very clear. He was stunned. And the number of people that were in that chat, he said 18 or 20 people, only a handful of names that we got so far. When he publishes those, when he shares what those names are, we're going to learn a lot of stuff about kind of how loose and fast these people are with just adding people to a group and then letting the group die. And if you think back to the last, 3 months now, 2 months we're into this presidency, and probably beyond that as they've been doing this before, how many group chats have been deleted into the history of Signal forever that involve insane backdealing, in-dealing, and sort of, anti-human, pro-corruption conversations and war crimes.
Well, again, like back to the previous point I was making, these people were absolutely doing this prior to coming into office. These people were this is obviously like a continuous habit that they've been having for a very long time, which is why they're doing this. There are established ways for people in government to communicate when they're deliberating about stuff like this. Obviously, they've been doing so before we had computers. Here's my wonder now. Is this also symptomatic of the reason why the CIA director may actually legitimately not know basic information like where personnel are at any given time, because he's literally not kept in the loop because these decisions and communications are being made in fucking Signal chats? Maybe because here's the thing too, like, who's to say a journalist was accidentally added, somebody else wasn't accidentally added, or wasn't added by accident? I don't know. Like there's so many ways for this or like the records, they just disappear after a week. So decisions are made. There's no record of the decisions that are made. People do things. There's no like clear trail of like, this person said to do this thing. This person said to do this thing. We've actually confirmed that this person was this thing. We didn't make a mistake and think, oh, this 3-letter acronym wasn't this guy with this 3-letter acronym. And we know that they're capable of making this kind of mistake because they invited a fucking Atlantic journalist to the Signal chat. Yep. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. To back up this thing, because I do want the question he's asking here is one I love, which is when they actually start just trusting. There's an old line which is trust people when they tell you who they are. There's no need in like trying to subvert what people say. And what he's doing here, and it's a great line from Bennett, is he's like, so if this is a hoaxer, this reporter who's a piece of shit and all this stuff and a liar, is it a good idea that you invited him to the chat? It's like, it's just
that there was a reporter added, especially one that the Secretary of Defense says is deceitful, highly discredited, a so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes over and over again. Is your testimony that it was appropriate that he was added to this Signal thread?
No, of course not. And
why did you not call?
Hold on, Senator. You're mischaracterizing my testimony.
Good. You answered the question. Let me ask you: when he was added to the thread, you're the CIA director. Why didn't you call out that he was present on the Signal thread?
I don't know if you use Signal messaging app.
I do. Not for classified information, not for targeting.
Well, neither do I, Senator.
Remote.
Neither do I, Senator.
Well, that's what your testimony is today.
But you do.
Absolutely is not, Senator. Were you not listening at the beginning?
No.
When I said that I was using it as permitted, it is permissible to use.
I agree that's your testimony.
Yeah.
I agree that's your testimony. You asked me if I use it, and I said not for targeting, not for classified information.
And I said I don't either.
I also know Jeff Goldberg. I don't use it to communicate
it's
with
crazy
him.
That he's actually denying this. They were literally debating about whether or not to bomb now or later. Bombing targeting information. That's what they're discussing.
There's no question that it is controlled unclassified information. And it's a very particular designation that is, especially with the people in that room, they know what it means. And again, one of the things that is going to come out, and we're going to learn, there's a very good chance Goldberg wasn't the only non-governmental person there. There are people like, we know Stephen Miller was in there, who's a deputy to chief of staff. That's probably expected. But when you have 18 people in there and most of them are names that Goldberg doesn't know off the top of his head, we're going to start learning really fast.
Appropriate. By the way, I think he's one of the more outstanding journalists in America. But I'm shocked to find him on a thread that he's reading in the parking lot of a grocery store in Washington, D.C. And your testimony.
You know what? Goddamn. That's something else, too. I realized you brought this up earlier, but I hadn't even really considered that. It's not even just a matter of like who was in the call. It literally could be, what if just hypothetically, all these people who are notables, and journalists is probably less likely, but what if hypothetically someone's watching what's over this highly decorated journalist's phone? Like, what if someone's just looking at that for whatever reason? And it could be like, what if his phone is like it has a virus or something, like Pegasus or whatever, or what if hypothetically he's just at work, he's just at work, and another journalist or another person he works with just sees, oh, he's in a call with JD Vance, Yemen, huh? Like you have no idea. It would be so easy because he doesn't know.
I could just imagine him standing there in like the freezer aisle, staring at this thing as someone walks by in Washington D.C. who's I don't know, related in some way to the Middle East. I can't imagine why anyone in D.C. would be related to the Middle East in any capacity. And they just go, huh? That's it. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Pegasus is not exactly
the director.
What is Pegasus? Is spyware?
It's malware.
It's malware.
What's
the difference between what's the technical difference between malware and a virus?
Virus
is it just because one spreads, or
it's about how it works and what it does within the computer. It's a slightly different setup. It has to do with spreading for its own intention.
Right.
Sort of the spreading itself being the danger. It's a long story. It's fine. There's
I get the idea.
It doesn't matter. It's nerd shit. Nerd shit.
The CIA is that it's totally appropriate.
No.
Is it appropriate?
No,
that the president.
That is not what I.
Okay,
when did I say it was? When did I use the word appropriate?
Well, go ahead, please.
Well, I didn't.
That everybody in America.
So clearly,
there's nothing to
Senator,
see here is what your testimony is.
No, I never said that.
This is just a normal day at the CIA where we chat about this kind of stuff over Signal. In fact, it's so normal that the last administration left it here for us. That's your testimony today.
That's your testimony.
No, that's
Senator.
not my testimony. That's what you said.
I didn't say any of those things that you just related, Senator.
I heard you say it. We'll let the American people decide. Let me ask you one.
We're not going to go back and watch it, but yeah.
One final
point. Why not? I kind of want to. I
don't know where it is in all of this hour and a half.
Titan actually sent us a good clip, apparently. He said this is an especially good part. Did I put it into the submission thing?
Is it? Tulsi is about to be up, and
well, let's watch this, and let's go back and see what that is. If that's the same thing we've seen, then we'll move on.
I'm going to begin today asking you.
Blah blah blah. He's not asking anything that has to do
sure
with
that
this.
As we think about the president's, we're really putting out for
aware of.
This is one of the challenges they have is that here we go, and then there's Gifford.
North Korea's revenue generating
Again, this was an intelligence
by
hearing
stealing
generally,
cryptocurrency. I defer.
Senator, I think this would be a great topic when we go to closed session.
I agree with the general. All right, Chairman. Topic of the day here, the signal chain as reported by The Atlantic. Ms. Gabbard and Mr. Ratcliffe, you each testified that there was no information operational in nature, no classified information. So I want to ask each of you just a series of, just respond yes or no. I'll start with Ms. Gabbard. In the signal chain that we have been talking about, was there any mention of a target in Yemen?
I don't remember mention of specific targets.
Any generic target?
I believe there was discussion around targets in general.
Mr. Ratcliffe.
Oh, God.
I think that's consistent with my recollection. Again, I don't have access to that.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard?
And again, this is where, and no one hit him with this. He's saying, as it's supposed to be done, I use Signal. Then you'd have access to it because everything in Signal is supposed to be copied over to another system. That's how the law works. So he's again.
Well, it
lying.
is being copied over to another system. The Atlantic journalist's phone, apparently.
Of a weapon or weapons system.
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
I'm not talking about specific, any weapon or weapons system.
I don't recall specific names of systems or weapons being used or named within the
Well, I'm
chat.
not asking whether, I don't want you to tell me what the specific weapon was, but any weapon at all. Mr. Ratcliffe, same question.
I don't recall.
How about anything about timing? Ms.
There
Gabbard.
was. We know that.
I don't recall specific timing.
You don't. Here's what's
there
crazy
any
about this. They don't have to recall. There's a fucking Atlantic journal article about it. Like, we know this.
Like, again, they should. The fact, like, this is where it's like, so wait, okay. If you're using it in line with how you're supposed to be, as the DoD itself is written, which they claim in this that they are, then they have all of these conversations recorded elsewhere. They don't need access to the signal chat. But, and again, this is going to come up. This is 100% why these senators are doing this, is they're setting up the tee for the golf ball to be smacked downfield, where it's like, hey, by the way, they weren't copying. So they committed perjury under, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening around that. It's just very frustrating. They should know all this because they should have copies of everything that was said in the chat, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Won't get into the detail of the conversation, but obviously there was a significant amount of planning and internal discussions that had occurred prior to and outside of this signal chat.
Mr. Ratcliffe, you're nodding your head. Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe?
Not that I recall.
Ms. Gabbard?
Not that I recall.
Okay, so I understand that DoD policy prohibits discussion of even what is called controlled unclassified information, or CUI, on unsecured devices. Are both of you aware of that DoD policy?
I haven't read that policy.
Not familiar with.
Hang on.
Oh no.
Brooks, pause. We got apparently something's going on. Check submissions. Check submissions.
Oh, good Lord.
Let's start here with House Speaker Mike Johnson also issuing an open threat to the federal judiciary today. Johnson saying that Congress has the authority to pull funding to federal courts. The congressman also adding that he is open to the idea here of potentially impeaching judges who rule against the president, saying
Holy
that, quote,
fuck.
everything is on the table. Well, this comes as the White House faces high-stakes legal battles over the deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members and an executive order banning transgender service members from the military. So I want to bring back Jay, who of course is on the Hill.
That's the most salient thing going on right now, is it? It's not the fact that they. Okay, sure.
I mean, I would say this is worse than what we're watching in the other.
This is significantly worse than what we were watching, but it's like, oh my god. Okay, keep going.
I need to process that for a moment. We'll watch, I guess. This is.
Yeah.
I want to bring back Jay, who of course is on the Hill alongside ABC News.
All I can say is fuck Chuck Schumer. Fuck Chuck. Fuck Chuck. Like this is fuck Chuck. What a piece of shit.
Investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, who's with us now as well. And so first of all, Jay, what more do we know here about Speaker Johnson's comments? And what are you hearing from lawmakers on the Hill? Because I think the real question here is there weight behind this threat?
So Johnson's gotten some pressure from lawmakers in his own party to be open to impeaching federal judges who rule against President Trump. But he didn't go that far today. Instead, he made this veiled threat where he said Congress is in charge of the budgets of these various courts. They're in charge of the drawing and makeup of these federal court districts where these district court judges preside. He's also thrown his weight behind this legislation from Darrell Issa of California to try to rein in define how broad an injunction can be. You remember injunctions because every time there's some executive order from President Trump, and the same goes for the Biden administration with conservative judges, a judge would block that executive order from going into effect while a broader court case plays out. Darrell Iss's bill wants to try to rein in that power. Mike Johnson has said Republicans are going to put it on the floor next week for a vote. But he's not going the full length, Kana, that some in his party, chief among them Elon Musk, have called on him to do, which is open up.
Elon Musk isn't in his party.
I know, I was just going to say.
You motherfuckers. Like, stop pretending that this is normal, that we have a billionaire hanging out. Like, fuck off with that shit.
The floodgates of this impeachment proceeding of federal judges who rule against President Trump. We know Elon Musk has backed House Republicans who get behind impeaching federal judges, but Mike Johnson not going that far today.
Seriously.
And Olivia,
what
what do we know about these cases that we talked about, right? There's these court cases that are playing out against the Trump administration, specifically the battle over deportation flights, as well as that executive order that bans trans service members from the military. What's the latest on both of those cases, Olivia?
Well, the Trump administration taking a step that we had expected them to take in the deportation case, which is invoking the state secret privilege. Essentially, they're saying that the judge who was asking for more information about those flights to determine if the Trump administration disobeyed his order to turn the flights around, they're saying this information is so sensitive that if we disclosed it to you, it would compromise national security. And
which is not possible.
I just love that this is being said, though, in the wake of the vice president, Hegseth, et cetera, literally leaking their deliberations about planning to bomb another country and how they're going to sell it to their constituents. I just like, it's like, holy fuck. How do you say that with a straight face? It's hilarious. It's depressing and it's psychotic and it's miserable, but it's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, this is like a madcap comedy.
Yeah, we're on the other side of America not existing anymore. Like the idea of it on a map or other things, maybe to some extent, but when we start talking about like the American project very particularly, the one that especially the liberal order has talked about for a very long time, is the function of having the courts, the Congress, and a president who all stand in opposition to each other. And it's a fairly adversarial system. That's what our legal system is based on. It's not based on everyone working together, because everyone working together is actually terrifying. And here's why it's terrifying. It's terrifying usually, and it's why this works so well for the fascists. It's terrifying because they don't want what would be sort of everyone getting the thing they want for the proletariat, for the worker, for allowing desire to run free. We can't have that. We've got to keep things constrained. But allowing constraint to be the thing that everyone agrees on, which is what they're doing, allowing the meaninglessness of the sort of liberal order of law to come through and allow unbridled political power to become flat in. It's very much not slightly over the line. It's all we have now. There is nothing beyond unbridled political power being used. There's nothing holding anything back from this administration or the government at large. That's it. Like, it's the end of the game, as far as I'm concerned.
Sorry, I just realized we didn't put the stream elements link in. Yeah, by the way, chat. We have 152 people watching the stream currently, and yet only a shameful. I can't even see the likes. Why can't I see the likes here? What's going on?
58 likes.
58? 58? That's it?
That is it.
That
okay.
is.
No one likes us. It's fine.
That's. I mean, true. I think it's just you. I think it's just you they don't like.
Well, I think they don't like the news. It's one of the things that we're not. When news is this depressing and this horrifying kind of consistently, it is difficult. But the reality is there is only a handful of people having these conversations. And if you like seeing these conversations had, if you want criticism to continue to be levied, if you want us to be continuing to do this work, liking and subscribing is the only way to do it. Supporting us by donating, helping us get to partnership would be lovely. But this is how
we are currently. And on that note, we are at this moment currently. No, I don't want to open the image in the new tab. I want to open the channel in the full channel. There we go. We are at 823 subscribers. We are so close to 1,000. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications. And once we hit 1,000, we can do things that we couldn't do before. We can give you emojis. We can accept normal super chats like civilized human beings and so on and so forth. We can raid other channels.
Get us
Brooks
subs.
Brooks has promised to start the OnlyFans. All right. Press on.
The government using affidavits from Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretary of State Mark Rubio, all to back this claim that it is too sensitive to give the judge more information. And really what the judge just wants is, where did those flights land? What time did they take off? How many people were on those flights? And what's so critical here, Kana, is that much of that information is already public. You can publicly track the flights. The administration put out and helped publish produced videos of these men being deported. So there are some questions here about, what really they're trying to hide when much of this information is out there. But Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, saying that confirming any of that information would cause harm. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that disclosing it would prevent foreign governments from wanting to partner with the United States anymore if they know that this information can...
If I may, just diverge a little bit from this, because I want to talk specifically about one person. And I want to talk about the conversation around this that I think is what makes this most horrifying.
Yes.
Is this guy. This dude right here. Barrios.
Yeah.
This is the New York Post. The New York Post hates immigrants and anyone who's not white, and they support Trump to an extreme level. They are our right-wing rag. They are as close to a tabloid as a newspaper gets, and probably just are a tabloid. So when this is what they say, this is the thing to realize. This is the best angle they can put on it for their readership and for what they're invested in socially. The Department of Homeland Security is hitting back at the viral claims that a Venezuelan soccer player was deported to El Salvador after he was mistakenly identified as a member of Tren de Aragua. The feds say they're confident he's a paid-up gang member of the violent gang. Jersey Royas Barrios was in the U.S. as a professional soccer player, playing here, and refugee of the Venezuelan communist regime, immigration attorney Lynette Tobit said in a court filing. And we'll see it below. There's an affidavit and an attestation that is insane, from not just the lawyer who's been supporting and helping him, but his whole family. Tobin claims he was wrongly sent to El Salvador after President Trump invoked the 18th Century Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members without a hearing. After he entered the U.S., Barrios was accused by immigration agents of being a member of Tren de Aragua due to his tattoos and social media posts, said Tobin. So it's just that. She claims the tattoo in question features a crown atop a soccer ball with a rosary and the Spanish word for God, similar to the logo for the Spanish soccer club Real Madrid. Never been arrested or charged with a crime. He's had steady employment record as a soccer player as well as a soccer coach for children and youth. And this is the attestation that shows it. And the tattoo is not one of the ones recognized by Tren de Araguas. I want to zoom in on one really special moment, though. I may have to.
I've got another story that we'll look at in a second as well. It's similar to this one.
There's a social media post that the DHS used to show that he was using gang signs. He was doing this. These are the gang signs.
Okay, careful, Brooks. You're going to go to El Salvador.
Yeah. It means I love you in sign language and is like used to like, fuck yeah, rock and roll, whatever. However, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin, and I just want to talk about around this line, said the Fed's determination that Barrios was a gang member goes beyond a tattoo. They are confident in their findings. She added Barrios was in the U.S. illegally, adding his tattoos are consistent with indications of Tren de Aragua membership.
And Dora, thank you for the incredibly generous 12.15.
Amazing.
Do you have the TTS turned on?
I thought I did. Now I'm questioning whether I do.
No, that was super quiet. There wasn't a message. It was just money. There wasn't a message.
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure.
I'm not sure why it muted. I didn't hear the sound effect, which is strange.
It was very quiet. I think it was.
I have it full volume.
Down.
I have it full volume on my side.
It might be a stream element side thing. That was very quiet, though, wasn't it? That was strange.
Yep. Nope. Tabs are running just fine. Whatever. Very strange.
Very strange.
But here's the thing: there's a line that is said that the head of Homeland Security Trump put in, that bald thumb looking motherfucker, said that he has avenues to fight this. That's what his response was, that he has legal avenues to fight this.
Yeah.
He's currently in CCOT in El Salvador for the rest of his life without a trial. And what avenues exist for that? He is not under our jurisdiction. So suing us for this does nothing for him in El Salvador. There is no method in El Salvador to sue to get out of CCOT. So what he's done by saying this, and again, this is where we're talking about unbridled political power being visited with the pain of bureaucracy around it as a cloud. It's, you have the bureaucracy. Don't you trust it? When you shouldn't, because there is none. And they get to have it both ways. And it's this story. I read this and I like watched some, there's videos of the family. I cried over this. This is like something out of a nightmare. It turns out that what the Department of Homeland Security did is they went to a bunch of guys who had tattoos and they had them sign willful deportation forms saying that they would be sent back home. The guys signed the forms and called family saying we're on our way home, and then they sent them to El Salvador instead. And the only way the family knows this is because a friend of the sister of this guy saw him in the video we watched of them putting prisoners in CCOT from the plane. Otherwise, they would have never known what happened. So, because they're not allowed communication with the outside world.
Yeah, Brooks, go into our audio controls. Lower my audio a little bit so we're balanced.
The fuck? Okay. Talk for a second.
Testing. Hello, 1, 2, 3.
I mean, that's pretty close.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 7 dB fucking difference. It's kind of crazy. I don't know why you're so quiet.
I'm not quiet. I'm loud, apparently. You're quiet.
Well, I'm not sure why I'm quiet. For sure, I don't know why I'm quiet. What the fuck? But it doesn't matter. That story is horrifying. And that's America. That's America.
Well, you may not even make it outside of America if you're being deported now. Check out that ICE thing I just sent you.
No, I don't like stories. I don't
like stories either. Stories are not fun these days.
Oh,
it was a little bit. You could laugh at Biden a little bit because he was doddering, and yeah, sure, he was killing thousands and thousands of people, but was he there? Did he realize what he was doing? It's like that Robot Chicken skit where Anakin's like, you just pretend I'm cutting daisies while he's killing the younglings. And I brought some fresh cut flowers. It's like that's sort of how I imagine Biden's last few months in office were like. This is just dark. So Maxim Cherniak, a 44-year-old citizen of Ukraine in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, was pronounced deceased by medical professionals at HCA Kendall Hospital in Miami, Florida, on February 20th at 2:25 p.m. A hospital physician reported the preliminary cause of death as bleeding from the brain. Cherniak had been hospitalized since being taken to the hospital by Miami-Dade Fire Rescue due to vomiting and seizure activity February 8th. Cherniak entered the United States on August 24th, 2024 in Miami as a Ukrainian humanitarian parolee with authorization to stay in the U.S. through to August 23rd, 2026. ICE encountered Cherniak on January 26th at the Broward County Jail in, what is this, FT? Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah,
Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Following an arrest for battery with bodily harm and lodged an immigration detainer. Broward County Jail released Cherniak into the custody of ICE on February 2nd, and he was transported to the Chrome Service and Processing Center. So this guy is here legally, and he's in jail. And they take him out of jail, and they put him into a facility where he dies of brain bleeding. Which is... all of this is strange. It's so strange. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue transported Cherniak to the HCA Kendall Hospital due to vomiting and seizure activity. Hospital medical staff established a stroke alert due to unresponsive staff after Cherniak was admitted February 18th. Medical staff conducted a CT scan of the brain, which revealed bleeding. Medical staff intubated Cherniak and initiated several intravenous medications to stabilize him. Medical staff began brain death protocol on February 19th due to the massive intracranial hemorrhage. And it's just like, I just don't understand, like what the point of this is. Like, crucially, this isn't even getting rid of illegal immigrants. If that's something you're obsessed about, this is a person who's here legally. You are devoting manpower and time and resources to removing people who are here legally. And just oopsie, he dies in the process. What a quinky dink. It's really fucking weird. Because it's up there with like the Enola Gay DEI censorship thing, where it's like there really doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason or process or purpose to anything that's being done. It really is just do things that have the flavor of this so that we don't get fired. Do things that sound like this so that Musk sees, ooh, there's a news report about this organization scandalously doing these anti-human things, illegal things, not keeping records, sending people off to a prison state where they will never be seen again. And he'll go, ooh, I like those ones. Hey, Donald, let's not, no, sorry, he's not talking to Donald. What are we talking about? Hey, Timmy, you there, not you, the other one. Yeah, the 19-year-old. Don't gut that agency. It's like, it's just fucking insane. But ICE remains committed to ensuring that all those in its custody reside in safe, secure, and humane environments, so don't worry. Your cage is secure.
It's you've done talks about and theory segments to no end about how the state operates and how the state and how laws have ostensibly changed over time, where under monarchy, under kings, under despots, we had laws that were edicts outwards. And as liberalism shifted, ostensibly the state became a way to, and the laws became a way to control the state, to create and shift and place restrictions on power and how power is able to be exercised. And that's, it's a thing we've talked about it. Like, I mean, we're seeing in my mind the obliteration of any sort of facade that was a thing in any way. I mean, across the board. And this is when you start talking about how people are treated. Because again, this is the debate usually is between when the Constitution says everyone. The debate often is sort of between a class of people and another class of people. It usually isn't very much placed on the idea of a citizen, and then also at the simultaneous time making restrictions on what citizenship actually means retroactively, and changing how citizenship can be found or argued. Because all we need, and it's not a crazy thing to presume, is a single actual U.S. citizen deported to CCOT, and they will never see the light of day again. And how would they? Like, how would they? Now that they're able to say, look, we're not going to share how we came to determinations of how we got rid of people. They didn't even want to share their names. We only know the names of the people who had lawyers and family who were still fighting for them in America. We don't know all of their names. We don't have a list of all of them. As far as I'm aware, the government hasn't released it. So how do we know anything about these people except to say we trust this administration that they're doing the right thing?
Well, here's the worst part about it. Here's the worst part about it, though. It's not even a matter of trusting that the administration is doing the right thing. It's a matter of trusting the administration if they even have any record or knowledge of what they're doing. I don't know if half these people know what half of the people around them are doing at any given time. Trump seemed to know about the signal leaks later than I did. I'm a rando at my computer in Canada. Like, how is that possible? That's insane. And the only way it would make sense is either everybody's lying really, really badly, or they legitimately don't know because communication is broken down because of just insane, rampant corruption.
Well, it's a combination, because one of the things when you're working with the state, or I mean, if you've ever worked with like an NGO or a nonprofit that is of any size, bureaucracy is like part of that setup, because the bureaucracy exists to keep tabs on things internally. Large companies have swarms of accountants that are watching over accounts and everything, for the same reason that you need a level of bureaucracy in order to keep things in check. We know this group particularly has not only a severe distaste of bureaucracy, but they like to keep what they do hidden. So when you start removing the bureaucratic glue that keeps these institutions going, the first thing that happens is you stop having an awareness of everything that's happening. It's one of the sort of nightmares of having the big government, but it's also the only way that big government functions. That's it. It's the only way it functions, is to have that bureaucracy. So when you're talking about, and again, it doesn't matter what meeting you're talking about. If you want to talk about the smallest, DSA meeting you've ever been to, all the way through a city council to the federal government or the entirety of a department that oversees, hundreds of thousands of people internally, or millions of people across the country, or billions across the globe, the nature of that bureaucracy necessitates that you have lots of people doing things. You have lots of people communicating and having these conversations and pushing things around. And that thing that is now gone, which is the bureaucratic glue, all that's left is the unbridled political power. The bureaucracy was the only thing keeping it moving at a glacial pace, even when it was in its shittiest.
I wish I was so optimistic, Brooks, but there's another thing that's been unloosed, and that's all of these other organizations that, because these have been gutted in a slapdash fashion, are still performing their roles, and for example, without any actual political injunction from the top, they're still, for instance, reinforcing absence of paperwork, cutting off payments for people who are no longer who no longer have any record, because there's no personnel there to actually connect the dots and make sure that, is this person alive or dead, et cetera, social security stops and so on and so forth. And the scariest part here is at a certain point, at a certain threshold, and it's very short because it's a super complex spider web of connections.
Yes, it is.
You lose the ability to change your mind and turn around. It's like when Musk bought Twitter and fired everybody, and then suddenly realized he needed some of the people he fired. Those people, A, found other work because they had to support themselves, and B, don't want to go back to the place that just fired them.
No, and so a lot of them of any value found, when you start dealing with people who are lifelong, like the State Department did this, and it's horrifying to think the State Department did this, the ongoing knowledge of how these things work, and again, the bureaucracy of it is how it functions. Tom Hartman, who's was a radio host I listened to for a long time, he always found people who are on the progressive or the left side, or even on the right, talking about term limits, how we need to just only allow congressmen or senators 1 or 2 terms. And he said, look, that sounds great, but in practice, the reality is if someone's only there for 1 or 2 terms, then you've lost all the institutional knowledge of how to actually get things done. And the way that things actually function, by the time you've learned it, you're a year from being out. So the ability to pass that on doesn't exist. The ability to actually keep things moving doesn't exist. And it gets us to the place where, like we were talking about when we had our show Friday, the psychotic 11th hour, reprieve from having Social Security not canceled by one guy, because we have a person in charge who's not only willing to do that, but now capable of actually doing that, because the rest of the bureaucracy has been eliminated. That's in every department. And so, again, the unbridled political power, what we just saw when we were looking at what the head of the Senate is talking about, and how they're going to defund federal judges if they don't rule with Trump. This is where it's the bureaucracy is being eliminated and gutted in favor purely of power, capital, and that space. And I think
I wish it was. Well, here's the thing. I wish that was so, which seems like a perverse thing to say, but it's not even being gutted in favor of power, because you can gut things in a way where now there are no longer hindrances to top-down administration just doing whatever it wants without hindrance, without regulation, without other agencies sort of pushing back on the things that you do. But they didn't do that. They gutted things in such a way as there is only confusion. So their own tethers on the things that they need to be able to administrate and control is lost.
I have a bit of a disagreement here. I think there's a level where I think there's a level where that's accurate, but I think most of it is in favor of, like we talked about, the presidential order, where they're moving everything for purchasing and procurement to a single position and person inside of it. That is the elimination of the larger bureaucracy in favor of particularized power. Now, is it causing confusion across the board? Sure. Is it making us incredibly ineffective? Yes. It's doing all of those things, but it is in service. Trump is now talking about taking our gold reserves and investing them in Bitcoin, which is like the worst kind of self-dealing I've ever heard. We're seeing Musk across the board going to be getting our IT infrastructure, which is terrifying to me in a large way. But with
did you hear about 23andMe going bankrupt and selling all their data?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, he's got money to throw around. He could have your genetic information too.
Oh yeah. Well, and all of that, as these things spread, all it takes is a couple people who are fairly aware. Confusion allows people who are aimed to do what they need to do. So yes, there is the large scale confusion. People don't know what to do and how to handle X, Y, and Z, but there's enough people who are singularly minded on maintaining and controlling power and securing their future of capital and wealth and power in that realm that they're willing to do anything. Again, Musk and his nightmare with what happened with X and how much debt he has absolutely poured into this thing that is not and has not made money since he bought it in any capacity. Yet somehow, with Grok and the shit that Grok is, he was able to raise multiple tens of millions of dollars, and he's using that to multiple insane amounts of money. It's far more than that. I want to say he's in the multiple billions range, but he's using that money to pay off the rest of the people who owe money on Twitter. So he's actually like raising money against that. But who's he raising money from? Oh, look, all these fuckers who are part of this Trump play towards capital and towards empowering all of these things. So the incestuous bullshit that's happening here is being taken advantage of by a handful of kleptocrat pieces of garbage who are aware enough that they're able to take things. What they don't see, because they're too stupid, is that by the time they grab it, the bottom of the economy is going to be completely collapsed, and they will be, I don't know, kings of an empire of dirt.
We want to spend the last half hour talking about the executive order that was signed today. I put a link in the submissions.
Yeah, we probably should. That's probably a safe bet.
Shall I read?
Let me pop it up. Give me 2 seconds.
By the way, while we are waiting for Brooks's giant hot dog fingers to manipulate his keyboard, we are very close to monetization. We only need 1,000 subscribers, and we are less than 200 away. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to help support us financially, there's a link pinned in the chat. If you donate to Stream Elements, your text will be read out by TTS, and we will be very happy because you will give us money. Thank you very much.
You're up.
All right. Trump signs executive order that will upend U.S. voter registration processes. Millions of citizens could become disenfranchised in farthest-reaching executive action targeting immigration.
Bullshit.
Oh
my God, bullshit.
Oh yeah. Donald Trump has signed a far-reaching executive order that promises to fundamentally disrupt American voter registration processes, introducing measures so restrictive they could in fact disenfranchise millions of citizens if enacted. Described by Will Scharf, the White House staff secretary, on Tuesday as, quote, the farthest-reaching executive action taken, unquote, in the nation's history. The order represents the latest in a long string of assaults, long list of assaults, rather, against immigration, but also on current voting systems. The sweeping order amends the federal voter registration form to require proof of citizenship in order to vote. It demands documentary proof for citizenship, such as a passport, to be eligible to vote in federal elections, empowers federal agencies to cut funding to states deemed non-compliant.
Fuck.
And instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute what the White House paints as election crimes, quote unquote. The measure also seeks to block states from accepting mail-in ballots after Election Day, regardless of when they are mailed in.
Yeah,
which is interesting because there's only one reason why you would do that, and that's to create a very clear lever for you to disrupt those votes from coming in. There's a slow. The mail's a little bit slow. Oh, good, we're winning. Too late.
Well, this is
didn't say Simon Says. Yeah.
The particular thing they're shitting on in the executive order is the phrasing. The phrasing that's in there where Votes must be cast and received by state officials. That's the language about it. The post office is considered a state official. A postmark is that proof that it was received by state officials at this time.
Yes.
That is how it's been talked about and used in the vast majority of cases. They are specifically going against this, saying that the post office is not that, because, by the way, DeJoy left. They're going to be gutting the post office next. And this idea of a ballot showing up a couple days later because someone lives slightly further away, or showing up the next day because they sent it 2 days before the election, but it took 3 days to get there, all of those votes won't be cast. Which is fucking wild and awful in a lot of ways.
Many of the provisions in the order are likely to be quickly challenged and are legally suspect. The U.S. Constitution explicitly gives states and Congress the authority to set the rules for election and does not authorize the president to do so.
It is literally in the Constitution. Just to mention, like, again, we're not in a constitutional crisis. The Constitution doesn't matter to these people and never has. Never. Not once. Sorry.
Daniel Lang, a voting rights lawyer at the...
fucking mad. This makes me so
Daniel Lang, a voting rights lawyer at the Nonprofit Campaign Legal Center, says the short answer is that this executive order, like all too many that we've seen before, is lawless and asserts all sorts of executive authority that it most assuredly does not have. Republicans have long sought to add a citizenship to the federal form and been stymied by the courts. In a 7-2 decision in 2013, for example, the U.S. Supreme Court said that Arizona could not require proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. The power to set the requirements on the federal form is left to the Bipartisan Election Assistance Commission. Courts have also blocked efforts to short-circuit efforts to add the question. The order tracks the controversial bill in Congress, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, the SAVE Act, which would require Americans to prove citizenship in person, a requirement that could immediately eliminate mail-in and online voter registration across 42 states as well as D.C. and Guam. All metrics point to these actions making it harder, not easier, for Americans to vote. According to the State Department in 2023, fewer than half of all Americans had a valid passport. By the way. Oh, also, by the way, just so you know, this is absolutely going to disproportionately target poor people,
Democrats,
everyone who's not white, etc., etc.
Democrats.
Not having a valid passport?
All of this. They're
well, I mean,
those are Democrat
no,
voters.
No. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Sorry, I meant the white ones.
Oh.
And nearly 69 million women who have changed their names would struggle to produce matching documentation, according to a Center for American Progress analysis.
They don't care about women either, to be fair.
Kansas had a law requiring proof of citizenship in effect between 2013 and 2016. It wound up putting the registrations of 30,000 people in jeopardy, the vast majority of whom were eligible to vote. The Center for Democracy and Civic Engagement reported in 2024 that roughly 21 million voting-age Americans, about 9% of the population, do not have a current valid ID. 9% of citizens. By the way, you know who you have to go through to get a valid ID? Bureaucracy. Just so you know, that's those people, you know, the parasite class. Despite Trump's claims of widespread election fraud, federal law already prohibits non-citizens from voting, with penalties including up to 5 years in prison. Current election systems already use multiple federal databases to verify voter eligibility, including citizenship data from the Department of Homeland Security. It's just like... But it's okay, because we're sending our war plans to journalists that we don't know are there.
The thing to remember is that American elections have not been fraudulent. This is a thing that they've done constant reporting on. There's been intensive accounting and sort of auditing of everything every single time, all the way down to the county level. This happens regularly in every county in the United States. And there are no irregularities found of anything of note. It's individuals occasionally, mostly, by the way, mistaken or older people with dementia. Very rarely is it explicitly fraud. So they're straight up doing this again. They know why. They've stated why. They've talked openly about why, because they know that the more people that vote, the worse Republicans do. That's how it works. That's how it has always worked. That's how it's always going to work. That's the nature of democracy. The more people that vote, the less fashy shit gets. The less people that vote, only the more extreme people are able to make it or have the desire to overcome things in order to make it there. When people have, like, I barely had a desire to vote for Joe Biden. Barely. It was not great. When that happens, you have fewer people voting. You have fewer people willing to overcome that speed bump, the speed bump of existence in one way, but the speed bumps of life in order to do a thing. People don't do things that are in their best interest all the time or that they want to because they simply can't find a drive to get up in the morning, let alone leave somewhere, find the right ID, make sure that they have the right ID. If they don't have the right ID, carry it with them, stand in line in hours in some places because the Republicans also close voting places. It's the reason that mail-in voting was incredibly successful. All of those things people just won't do. But you know who will? Right-wing psychotic racists and MAGA pieces of shit. That's how it works. And it's, again, studies, countless studies. This is humanity. This is how it's happened in every country. This is how we work as a people.
I was gonna make a joke, like, you know that Buster Scruggs meme where it's the guy in the news going like first time? That's people in Turkey right now.
Yeah. This is This is that. This is saying, hey, by the way, you need to prove citizenship. Papers, please. That's what we're doing. Is papers, please. And by the way, for my entire life and my parents' life, just showing up and saying your name was perfectly fine. And without issue, by the way. That's a thing. That's how voting works. That's how voting works in most places. In Iraq, the easy way they did it was they had the thumb. I don't know if everyone remembers. I'm old as shit. The thumb with the ink during elections. Yeah. That way people couldn't vote twice. There's lots of little things you can do that make it easy to just go, hey, have you voted? You can't vote again.
Love your show.
Thank you, Emery. We love you too.
Thank you, Emery. We're not there yet, but you're okay.
Yeah. It's really horrifying. And again, the president does not have the ability to do this. Like, explicitly, this is not how this works in any capacity whatsoever. So they're trying to end run not just Congress, but the states, because the Party of States' Rights never cared about it. They never have, because all they care about is power. So stop caring about their arguments. They don't have any. They don't. Make me an argument. Yeah, let's sitting and debating people who don't care about anything. It's not going to work in the end for you.
Here, let me suck the last of your soul out with this last document before we end off, because we got a couple more minutes. Here's the actual order. Let's read it.
I got it.
Shall we?
Yep. By the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, this authority is not vested in him. Section 1, Purpose and Policy. Despite pioneering self-government, the United States now fails. What does that even mean? Despite
the United States, despite pioneering self-government, the United States now fail.
Like it's just signifiers at this point. That's all it is. The United States now fails to enforce basic and necessary election protections employed by modern developed nations, as
like
well
Turkey.
as those still developing. India and Brazil, for example, are trying voter identification to a biometric database.
They're tying voter. They aren't trying. They're failing.
Tying.
They're tying voter identification to a biometric database.
Oh, India and Brazil. Do those countries have issues in the past with excessive caste-based classism and significant fascist rule? Fuck.
Colluding with the gangs as well. Here's my immediate question. What happened to all of you guys wanting your online anonymity and your free speech protected? Now you want the government to have absolute biometric reads on every single human body in the state at all times. Why? Why do you want this for yourselves? You clearly don't. You think it's not going to affect you. But like it's weird how naked it is. In tabulating votes, Germany and Canada require use of paper ballots counted in public by local officials, which substantially reduces the number of disputes as compared to the American patchwork of voting methods that can lead to basic chain of custody problems. You can, of course, not fabricate a paper vote. That's impossible. No one's ever done this before. It is completely impossible. No one's ever, for example, accused us incumbent government of fucking around within paper votes or anything like that. So that's not the case. So we're safe, right? Within paper, that's fine. Further, while countries like Denmark and Sweden sensibly limit mail-in voting to those unable to vote in person and do not count late arriving votes regardless of the date of postmark, many American elections now feature mass voting by mail, with many officials accepting ballots without postmarks or those received well after election day. Why would this matter? Why would it matter if they're received after Election Day?
Yeah, are they cast by people? Like, this is the thing. Like, they don't understand that Republicans this is why they're just such pieces of shit. To them, the only thing that matters is a rule, not what the rule is supposed to support. The rule is, and always has been, the intention to support a person voting. Is a person able to vote? We need to tabulate it, so here's the best we can do and still tabulate votes. But if a person's intending to vote for Trump or voting for Biden, their vote should count, because every vote should count. But for them, it's much more, is it within the rules that we allow it? Like it's a basketball game. No. Everyone gets a basket. That's how it works. It's not where they shot from or how they shot. It's they get a basket. So you need to change how you mentally think about these things, because it's about all of people who live here having a voice, which they don't want. So to be fair, this works perfectly for them.
It also, by the way, just to be clear, this bizarre reliance entirely on abstract rules without any understanding whatsoever of the actual methods of enforcement or what they're actually intended to achieve makes them the dumbest liberals in human history. Liberals just really, really dumb. Because none of this works that way. Successful legal organizations always function because there are traditions of passed down knowledge and practice linking all of these multifarious and complicated things together. And as soon as you have a total reliance on the writ of the law and the manual, everything crashes, because unfortunately we aren't actually capable of figuring out everything in advance, which is why your Constitution is constantly being reinterpreted by judges.
Well, and
literally in the name.
The use of Sweden here. I worked for a Swedish company. I got to know way too much about Sweden when I was sort of in between there. The thing to understand about how they're using this stuff is, and this is, again, the ContraPoints video, I've got to just sort of give a nod to it. The idea of how symbolism functions is you relate the things that you see to your life. So when you read, well, countries like Denmark and Sweden sensibly limit mail-in voting to those unable to vote in person, they don't account late arriving votes regardless of the date of postmark. This is true, but you're relating it to like, oh, otherwise their voting system must be exactly like ours. No. I'm pretty sure Sweden opens up all polling places 3 weeks-ish ahead of the election, and you just kind of show up. Like whenever. And so most people vote really early. They don't wait till election day.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is they use these examples like, well, look, Steve doesn't allow you to do that. Janice doesn't allow that. And then slowly you're just actually finding yourself not boxed into a place of enabling votes, but instead the opposite of finding ways to constrain as many as possible. Because when you talk about how these things operate and they don't do this, then where you're at is a cross-section of garbage. Because in Sweden, early voting is like the core thing. And like, it's, you actually can vote anywhere in the country, wherever you are. Like, memories are when we were in Stockholm and I ended up down in Malmo with a couple of people. Like, you can vote wherever as long as you've got your Swedish driver's license or whatever the fuck they call ID. But again, we had a bunch of Swedes working for us in America. They voted by mail, just so you know. Like, they voted by mail. So like, it's not true, and it's also a lie in the way that it's told, because that's what they're doing, is they're using the ability for you to relate this to your life and presume, well, if that's how the Swedes do, then we just cancel that. No, they've done that, but they have all this other shit. And that's the thing that they keep fucking with. It's like we talked about with the Department of Education. Get rid of the Department of Education like it used to be. Yeah, but we used to have an Office of Education, and you're wanting to not have that either. So, and that's kind of the huge amount of bullshit that's happening here. Like, it's lies at every fucking level and bullshit at every level, and easy to work with people because, again, the idea of how we representationally consider the world, how we place ourselves at the center of it, and we hear the word mommy, we hear the word daddy, we relate it to our experiences with mommy, daddy, Sweden, voting, president, Congress, education, school. It's all about us at the center. This little fucking pathetic little ego American. It's disgusting.
Keep reading, please.
Sorry, just
it gets better.
Free, fair, and honest elections, unmarred by fraud, errors, or suspicion, are fundamental to maintaining our constitutional republic. The right of American citizens to have their votes properly counted and tabulated, without illegal dilution, is vital to determining the rightful winner of an election. Under the Constitution, the Great Replacement Theory, state governments must safeguard American elections
That was good.
in compliance with federal laws that protect Americans' voting rights and guard against dilution by illegal voting, discrimination, fraud, and and other forms of malfeasance.
The way you said that before, it sounded like Delusian, but continue.
It's just so frustrating to read this shit because they're saying the Jews. That's what they're doing. They're like, oh look, someone is replacing all of us whites. Yet the United States has not adequately enforced federal election requirements because they can't. For example, prohibit states from counting ballots because you can't. The laws are with the states. The Constitution is with that.
It's because he doesn't understand the constitution of his own government. He doesn't realize of his own country. He doesn't realize that it's literally a federal government. Why is it a federal government? Some countries don't have a federal government. They just have a government. Why does the United States have a federal government? Because it's a federation of states. They have their own armies.
We are in EU. Like we're actually like the EU was the idea, at least
of
originally.
The EU. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean the idea of the United States was intended that we were all like smaller countries that had a larger constitution that like all dealt with each other, and we had better agreements so we could work together. But now we're like one big stupid country full of stupid fucking people. It's amazing. Federal law establishes a uniform election day across the nation for federal elections, 2 USC 7 and 3 USC 1. It is the policy of my administration to enforce those statutes and require that votes be cast and received by the election state established in law, as the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit recently held in Republican National Committee v. Wetzel 2024. Those statutes set the day by which ballots must be both cast by voters and received by state officials. Yet numerous states failed to comply with those laws by counting ballots received after Election Day. This is like allowing persons who arrive 3 days after Election Day, perhaps after a winner has been declared, to vote in person at a former voting precinct, which would be absurd. Why? Well, first off, why would that be absurd? Like, just to be very clear, like, I don't understand. Oh, fuck, it's Election Day. I was in a coma. Can I vote?
Well, as with earlier, you probably understand it as much as the current president does, because it literally makes. By the way, Republican votes were counted after Election Day. Just so you know.
Of course they are. All people's votes should be counted after Election Day.
Yes. It's like persons who are 3 days after Election Day. Like, that's against the rules. It's not fair anymore. It's like, what do you mean it's not fair? One person, one vote. Why would that not be fair? Why? What's not fair about this?
It's
even worse. The prior administration actively prevented states from removing aliens from their voter lists. He doesn't say illegal aliens, I notice. Like,
additionally, federal laws such as the National Voter Registration Act and the Help America Vote Act require states to maintain an accurate and current statewide list of every legally registered voter in the state. Yes, Republicans, famous for really, really being excited that we're keeping lists of all people. You know what, dude, honest to God, in my lifetime, this is the weirdest thing to watch.
Hang on, wait, slow down. Require states to maintain an accurate and current statewide list of every legally registered voter in the state. Maybe I'm revealing my stupidity here. But don't they have to be listed to be legally registered voters? Isn't that sort of like a part of what that means, that they're registered?
Yes. So Washington State, for example, you can look up every voter and how they voted. A lot of states have like these open books on these things.
Yeah.
Basically, what he's adding here, let me finish because it's a thing of what he's combining. Requires state to maintain an accurate and statewide list of every legally registered voter in the state. Real quick, I do want to make my point. The Trump base is coming out of what was the libertarian Ron Paul movement of like the mid to late 90s and early 2000s.
That's why this is so weird, because this
and
is
it's
like
always fascinating.
This is their nightmare.
No, it's not. Like, again,
No, it's not actually their nightmare, but like
were never against any of these things. They hated them because they hated Bill Clinton, and so they hated that government controlling them. But the very people screaming about Ruby Ridge and how the government's out to kill everyone, now yelling about how they need a perfect list of voters that is matched with Homeland Security, is fucking amazing to me. That the people are like again, when we talk about the way people can fool themselves and how they invest and how they build into these stories, this is where they've always been. It's just kind of terrifying to actually see. Maintaining accurate voter registration lists is a fundamental requirement in protecting votes from having their ballots voided or diluted by fraudulent votes, which there are so few. Federal law prohibits foreign nationals from participating in federal, state, or local elections by making any contributions or expenditures. But foreign nationals and non-governmental organizations have taken advantage of loopholes in the law's interpretation, spending millions of dollars through conduit contributions and ballot initiative-related expenditures. This type of foreign interference in our election process undermines the franchise and the right of American citizens to govern their republic. Let's keep an eye on where he's going to talk about.
Wasn't there a South African in the Oval Office recently?
Who contributed what seems to be $500 million towards Donald Trump and his political campaign in the last year?
Who at his behest was sending a bunch of teenagers to delete a bunch of information indicting Vladimir Putin? Just saying. At a university, just popped in. Boop, just
All right,
just delete
let's
everything.
do what the order is. You ready?
No.
To enforce the federal prohibition on foreign nationals voting in federal elections, A. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Election Assistant Commission shall take appropriate action to require in its national mail voter registration form issued under 52 U.S.C. 2058. A. Documentary proof of United States citizenship. B. A state or local official to record on the form the type of document that the applicant presented. Wait. Am I reading this right? The election assistant shall take appropriate requiring in its national mail voter registration form documented proof, a state or local official to record on the form the type of document the applicant presented as documentary proof, including the date of the document's issuance, date of expiration, blah, blah, blah. The office that issued the document, etc., while taking appropriate measures to ensure information security. So, which they do. Proof citizenship, hey, I'm going to register here. But wait. When I change, this is going to apply when people move. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Change of address. Boop.
So you have to prove it, and the way to proof is through copies of, and you list them, a United States passport, an identification document, compliant with the Real ID Act of 2005, which is fucking what a debacle. An official military identification card, a valid state or federal government-issued photo ID if such identification indicates the applicant is a United States citizen, or if such indication is otherwise accompanied by proof of United States citizenship. B, to identify unqualified voters registered in the states. See, this is the affirming thing. Hey, by the way, we're just going to check up on, if you apply, we're just going to require an ID. Also, we're going to kind of go back over the books. To the Secretary of Homeland Security shall, consistent with applicable law, ensure the state and local officials have, without the requirement of the payment of a fee, access to appropriate systems for verifying the citizenship or immigration status of individuals registering to vote who are already registered. Interesting. Without payment of a fee. So they want all of the books. That's what they want. The Secretary of State shall take all lawful and appropriate action to make available information from relevant databases to state and local officials engaged in verifying the citizenship of individuals registering to vote who have already registered. This is crossing paperwork. That's what this is. This is requiring them to cross paperwork. It's what I read before. And this is the part I love. The Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with the DOJ administrator, shall review each state's publicly available voter registration list and available records concerning voter list maintenance activities as required by blah, 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 alongside federal immigration databases and state records requested, including through subpoena where necessary and authorized by law for consistency with federal requirements. We're going to go back and look through all of the voter rights and we're going to see if you match any names. And we've been so good at it so far in other databases, I'm sure there won't be an issue. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. Within 90 days, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall provide an Attorney General complete information on all foreign nationals who have indicated on any immigration form that they have registered or voted in federal, state, or local election, and shall also take appropriate action to submit to relevant state or local election officials such information. Jesus Christ. They're trying to find like the next group that, hey, by the way, can you submit stuff so we know who to deport next? Basically.
Yep.
Shall assess citizenship prior to providing a national voter registry form to enrollees of public assistance programs. Oh my God.
This actually is a good time to bring up the Navajo thing, actually. We'll do a preview of it before we talk about it tomorrow. Why don't we pop that up quickly?
Yeah. One sec. Gotta find the... It's a thing worth talking about. Here's the lighter version. It's a little bit of an older article. But the threads, as we start talking about it, it's important to kind of go back.
Yeah.
Because ever since Trump came back in office, the first thing he's doing is begun deporting. There have been reports of Navajo people being detained in immigration sweeps that tribal leaders have been terrified by. Because the way that they're kind of working in birthright citizenship is through the way that the Navajo have maintained sort of their own version of sovereignty. Native Americans, and I'm going to speak a little bit flippantly here because it's just fast, but generally speaking, they have their own land. We gave them reservations, horrifying bunch of shit that led to it, nightmare stuff, but they've kind of ended up building their own sort of statehood in the space. And they've got councils, they've got cultures that are developing, and they're incredibly poor because we impoverish the fuck out of them and we really do awful shit in a lot of ways. But one of the things that they sort of fought against, and it's been a long discussion, is do we give Native Americans born on the reservation system, do we give them American citizenship? And if we do, which you could argue very much that we should for a lot of reasons, but if we do, then that makes them by de facto American citizens, which removes their sovereignty internally.
Yes.
Because it makes them basically U.S. citizens, which makes them liable to the U.S. law, which would also imply that the land that the reservation's on is also American land. So for a very long time, there's been this, I would say more theory-based, and I understand it, debate and discussion where the indigenous people have said, we are not American citizens. Birthright citizenship doesn't de facto apply to us. This is what is now being used to argue that birthright citizenship should apply to should not apply to illegal immigrants either. That across the way it works, that because even though they are within the boundaries of the United States, sort of, even though you could make arguments a lot that the Navajo people and others are that, over and over and over, the DOJ has argued, and they've had these fights, and the indigenous people have fought for their own sovereignty. Again, a thing I understand. The complexity is now the DOJ is using the arguments of the indigenous people to argue that birthright citizenship isn't a thing. And because of this, they're also deporting and working to deport possibly Navajo people who've been detained. And again, as we don't know the names of a lot of people who have been sent elsewhere or who are detained or who are in various places because they haven't been released, there is a non-zero chance that we have Native Indigenous Americans who are non-citizens and who are part of this argument to completely disassemble the entire idea of birthright citizenship or how citizenship comes to be, while also being detained elsewhere outside of America as foreign aliens. Does that make sense as I'm saying it? Because this is like...
No, but I understood it.
You understand what I'm saying, which is probably what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really difficult. They have dual citizenship. Again, there's arguments here. And the discussion is, I think, really important when we talk about what it means for indigenous people, what it means for Americans, but also what it means for people who come here or who are born here and only know a life here. I will bring up, and will always bring up, my buddy Paul Yastrzemski. He was a sales rep at NVIDIA when I was working at Lucas, and we got to be really good friends. He was a great guy, and we became close over the years, and we're still close. And it blew my mind one day when I saw him ask about illegal immigration to 2016 to the Democrats at the debate during the primaries. It was confusing because I didn't know that Paul was a dreamer, because he's, if you haven't guessed by the name, Yastrzemski, he is a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Polish guy, and real bright, real great. But his parents came here illegally, and he was born here. And the question he's had, and he's always wondered, and that's why he became an activist in this way: do people want to deport me? They don't. They really don't. And so he put himself in a position of constantly asking, what does it mean to be born here? I have no life in Poland. He's like, I have family I've met. I've never lived there. He's like, the language was a challenge for him for a long time. It's not his culture. He's a California guy. Like, if you haven't been to both Poland and San Francisco Bay Area, I would not say they're culturally comparable. Get drunk in Warsaw, get drunk down Market Street, not the same thing. That setup puts us in a place where it's like, what does it mean for someone to be born here? How do we care about people? What does it mean for a human who exists, who's only ever known America and is contributing very much? Birthright citizenship is so deeply important to how people are able to build roots and build a political and meaningful work future for themselves and their family, that taking it away and doing it in a way that, like, all I can think is, Leonard Peltier was pardoned by Biden, and I feel like I have a monkey paw somewhere that I forgot about, that like curled and went, we'll free him, ha 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 ha, and we'll use the indigenous people against, like, it's, all I can think is like that it's a monkey paw somewhere that curled, because that they're doing this, and that we're seeing Navajo being taken, and it's happening, and we're seeing this push, terrifies me in an extraordinary way.
You know what's really terrifying though, Brooks?
What's that?
Your continued need to make my camera smaller than yours on the screen.
It's about the same size. It's got it measured out.
About the same size. Yeah, I measured down to the centimeter. And you made sure it was just a little. I can see it.
6 pixels.
There's a line right between us. You see that window? Yours is above it. Mine is below it. It's right there. It's been proved. That image on the article. It proves it. It proves it. I've been shorter this entire time.
There, fixed it.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Now you're bigger than I am by 4 pixels.
I know. Well,
I find it frustrating, and the discussion around the way the Navajo are being treated here, and immediately how they're being sort of utilized, and it's being done across the board again. I find it heartbreaking, and I continually have it sort of I find it heartbreaking.
This is going to be an era that's going to be in history textbooks and American school children's elementary classes. That's just a list of absurdities. It's going to be like kaleidoscopic. Yeah.
And it's these articles all feature Crystalline Curley, who has been very active in this, and you'll see this even when I shift over to, I think, another article on it from the Navajo Hopi Observer, which is a much more obviously direct piece. But the ICE raids in the setup, tribal leaders have been receiving alarming reports that their tribal members are being detained, heightening uncertainties over the implication these actions have for their communities and safety of their people. We now know that Navajo people and enrolled members of other tribes are being detained in Phoenix and other cities by ICE. The reports we've received indicate we would need to coordinate operation as some type of response to help our enrolled tribal members here in the Navajo Nation. And they've been working towards this. What is shifting and how it's shifting, and it's kind of the big deal, is as this has been going on, Trump is doing everything he can to continually push towards what I consider to be the sort of, again, his life and his existence is about finding that bureaucratic moment, pushing it as far as it can go when no one pushes back, and continuing to try it, and no one's stopping him. He's continually been rejected in trying to shift what birthright citizenship means, but he's just picking other places to do it.
Yeah.
And so now he's going straight to the Supreme Court and pushing again more emergency applications. And these things are continually being blocked, but he's not being stopped. The order specifically would deny citizenship to those born after February 19th whose parents are in the country illegally. It also, by the way, also this means not just illegally, it's also traveling, it's military. There's a whole bunch of things that this completely fucks with in a lot of ways. And it also forbids U.S. agencies from issuing any document or accepting state documents recognizing citizenship for these children. It's awful. And it's heartbreaking in almost every single way. And it's one of those things where when we talk, and I want to kind of end on this because I'd like, one of the things we try to talk about is what is there to actually do, because there is Dumerism, and I've had a real hard time getting out of Dumerism over the course of the last few weeks as we've sort of seen all of this stuff go nuts. The reality is there is, in my mind, and you're not an American, but trust me, you're about to be the 51st state. I kind of feel like I want to play a clip. Did I send you the worst?
We'll
clip?
see how it goes in Greenland first, okay?
Yeah, that's it. With
We're
Vance
still waiting on those tariffs.
With Vance saying we will literally just invade Greenland if we have to, which is like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't think there's anything we can do short of the things we already could. Using the bureaucracy, calling your congressperson, sending faxes, sending emails, filling out forms, spending that 15 minutes a day and making your voice heard daily. Because the only way this gets stopped is if parts of the bureaucracy or the noise is made large enough that people start to see it and that people start to do things who do have some semblance of power. The military and all of this that is happening, the business community is not backing Trump right now. The military isn't necessarily backing Trump right now. Everyone is very much waiting to see what happens. It's why you're not seeing a massive collapse in the stock market, but you're also not seeing explosions upward. People are trying to figure out what the footing is. They want a foundation. This is how humanity works. And there isn't one until there is. And as long as that foundation is allowed to find its vibration underneath what Trump is doing, this will end badly for everybody. So making noise, making vibrations, keeping that going, keeping that uncertainty there in opposition to this is the best thing any of us can do in the smallest ways that are possible. That's all I have. That's all I have to be non-doomer today. It's brutal, man.
My position is going to continue to be actually start focusing on building networks and so on and so forth, because resources can be spread and reallocated in that way and keep everybody going when stuff inevitably starts to crash, which it will very quickly. A part of me is actually going to defy you a little bit and say, frankly, people are not going to have a choice but make noise soon, because essential things are going to start breaking down, because this cannot work for very long.
That is the reality is the day that they decide a social security check isn't going out, the day they decide a thing of massive importance to this country that they do not understand, the same way that Twitter had its outages or had issues, these outages and issues will cause ripples that make Twitter, again, that's a stupid app that people get kind of pissed as down and laugh about on threads that Twitter's down until it's back up. That's the worst it's got. On the other side, when people don't get their checks and Social Security, or when Medicare and Medicaid don't pay out, I actually, one second, I want to actually, there's a thing that's starting to happen, and it's because we're already starting to see,
Okay, good. So it's not medical then. I was concerned for a second.
No.
I was waiting for you to start clutching your chest and just fall out of your chair.
No, it's medical, but it's specific. So I live in Clark County, Washington, which is the other side of the river from the other side of Columbia River from Portland, and Columbia River mental health is, we're not a rich city, Vancouver. I'm outside of Vancouver in Washougal, which is an even less rich city, but Columbia River Mental Health was the nonprofit supported by kind of everything around the world, but Medicaid centrally. They have no more money. The other day, when they, like Monday, I think it was, that they finally shut down, there were 100 people standing outside waiting to get their meds. We're talking methadone, antipsychotics, things that keep people off the street and employed, psychiatric help, mental health care. They serve about 5,000 people at any given time, and they just closed their doors. That's the end of it. Thousands of patients everything's paused across all of Clark County because there is no more money. It's done. And they don't know what to do. They have equity in their buildings, which is, again, when we talk, and Marx talks about how capitalism ends and how they start destroying things. The last resort that these guys had was to actually sell their land and get loans in the equity in order to keep the business going, and they couldn't move that fast enough. This is a huge thing that's starting to happen everywhere. This is not just where I live. I just happen to know specifically of the Columbia River Mental Health Services. And so when you're talking about 5,000 people who are absolutely in dire need, big enough need that they're willing to stand in line for mental health care, then you've got 5,000 people who, as of today, are not healthy anymore because they have nowhere else to go, because there is nothing else that offers these services here.
And that's going to, who's going to carry the burden of that? It's going to be family, friends, or they're going to go homeless, or so on and so forth. Yes.
Stephen Jones, who told 6 News he's been sober off and on for the last 10 months, so this is terrible news. It sucks, Without the medication, we're going to have to go buy something else from somewhere else, he said. I don't really want to do that. I'm trying to, my life is just getting back together, so I'm not trying to, go do illicit drugs. This guy?
Yep.
They've doomed.
Yep.
They've doomed him. And this is the slow process.
Pretty quick process so far. That's the scary thing, is this. Here's the thing that I have in the back of my mind throughout the entirety of this. It's not just a matter of they've doomed this person, now this person goes out. They've doomed this person, they've doomed the people around him who now have to deal with him. Those people now have to be dealt with. You're going to have there's going to be comorbidities associated with all these decisions, and what you're going to have is a critical mass very, very quickly of a whole lot of people who suddenly are well, I don't actually have any options. There are no moves left. There's nothing you can do. So what happens then? You get a lot of people like that, and it'll happen fast.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. The kinds of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, or who require social security in order to keep their rentals, these are not desirable tenants. They're low paying. People want them to leave. They want to swap them out for better paying ones. A lot of these people are suddenly, very, very quickly going to be let go. They're going to go places. Those people are going to be burdened. They're going to have more and more people just cascading. It's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad.
It's going to be emergency rooms flooded. It's going to be more people in jail. It's going to be more people having to deal with it in general. And even then, the stuff, Doug Stanhope, who I love my Doug. He has a bit on mental health care in Arizona that is phenomenal, because that's where he lives, and his partner Bingo is severely not well. And I love Bingo, and she would agree with that. And so she goes weekly to a thing like Columbia Mental Health. And as he describes it, because the thing she goes to in Arizona is called Community Intervention Associates. And he's like, the thing to understand is that it's a virtual nurse. There's not even a real nurse in the building. And the way it works is you pull up into this small little shopette area, and you park in front of a liquor store. You walk past a gun store to go into a building with CIA in big giant letters on the fucking door stenciled out, to talk to a computer who's going to tell you to go back to the drugstore in order to get meds. And that's that's the mental health care system that we have right now.
Which, by the way, do you know why, just so you know, do you know why countries have public services? If you think it's because they're compassionate, you're mistaken. It's to keep the people from eating each other.
Yeah.
And from destroying the country. That's why that's there. Because what you're looking at here is every single photo of a person like this, that is a sample from a giant population. You know that meme about how like the most dangerous thing is a whole bunch of angry young men without jobs or without like marriage prospects or anything like that? Yeah, well, you've just magically turned a whole bunch of people who aren't angry young men into the same kind of thing.
Yep. And as we don't have mental health care, as we don't have Medicaid, and as that gets cut, because again, they're looking at cutting Medicaid by 800 billion or some silly fucking gigantic number. You're talking about the end of all of these things and the ones that also you don't even know that you're using or other people are using. The idea of having public services as a thing is to service the public, and it supports people. This guy, my cousin Josh, was like an older brother to me. He was 8 years older than me to the day. I was born on his birthday, and we were incredibly close. And he looked just like this guy, died of overdose. He was a drug addict for a lot of his life. And when Josh tried to get clean, when he tried to find ways to do that, the systems that enabled that would disappear out from under him, or the wrong like the systems are not funded. They're private orgs. They're Scientology connected, Narcanon as a thing. Like, it's crazy when you start getting into like how these things are supported, and they're not government groups, because everyone just wants, the wealthy just want the ability to have these guys not suckle at the teat of them, not get money, but just get back to work or be a parasite in the extreme way. And you just watch a loved one go through this, and you hear very much the same thing. I don't want to go buy heroin. I might die from fucking fent. But if I don't get my goddamn methadone, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, if you've never been addicted, if you don't know what chemical addiction is like,
it's not like when, oh man, I really could use a beer right now. No, it's your body is shutting down unless you get the thing, because unfortunately it now needs that to balance itself. Because you are a balloon full of chemicals, and stuff does stuff based upon the balance of elements in that soup. And if that's off because stuff has been warped by mistakes you've made, by stuff that's happened to you, by stuff you've done to cope with stuff that's happened to you, and so on and so forth, your conditions of existence change. They're not the same anymore. It's like
your relation to the entire world shifts, and what you care about and how you can prioritize, and the ability for you to even condition desire in any capacity shifts. And when you talk about and you deal with people in these camps of just awful homeless situations, people who were put there last week, or people who've been there for 6 years, people who sleep on steps, people who are 80 years old and living in these things dying, they don't have an option, or in their eyes, they aren't given one that is actually meaningful, because the reality is, like this guy, how many times has this guy been completely finger-funked after trying to get help, and then everything falls out? How often has he tried and had the system fail him to where he eventually, as my cousin's not the only person, Josh wasn't the only person I knew that did this, who just ultimately finds a way to recede from the world until they die, because no one can help, because it always falls apart anyway. And that reality that creeps into people's lives is so prevalent. When we talk about Dumerism, it's where we are. It's tough, but just imagine, and some of you may be there. I'm lucky to not be there now. But if you actually had nothing, like no place to live, nothing to do, and suddenly the support structure that was giving you methadone, the support structure that was keeping you mentally well, or even just giving you a place to live was just gone for the 5th time, how much effort are you going to put in the 6th time?
Yeah. So Something else you can do, if you can, because it's really hard now, is get out.
Yeah.
Bluntly. If you can do it, you should consider getting out. Because
I've had this argument. The challenge is that American hegemony isn't just like a thing that we like when America's doing it. Like, oh, we use it as a critique, but if America just stopped, everything would be fine. It's like, no, the world is so fucking grossly interconnected that if things collapse in America meaningfully, which again, I don't have a lot of hope as a thing.
Well, here's a way to think about it that's probably more palatable. American hegemony has meant the erecting of a whole ton of highly corrupt institutions all over the globe, a whole bunch of highly corrupt, highly negative economic and social dependencies between different entities and so on and so forth. And America pulling back doesn't mean those go away. It just means now they're in chaos. And all these things are bad.
Chaos is, as I was talking about earlier, though, chaos is where you have the ability to make change. And this is a thing that has happened consistently throughout not just American history, but activist history in general. When these things fall apart, just like Elon Musk and Trump rewriting the government. If you haven't seen The Onion this week, I get a physical subscription. It's pretty fantastic. But they had a new one where the IRS enables ability for taxpayers to deposit checks directly in Elon Musk's bank account. Which is a hell of a fucking headline.
That's funny.
But as they're doing that, that confusion that's allowing that in the first place is also the ability for people who do care about these things, again, do like I'm doing, try to get involved with city council, run, talk to people, talk about new things you can do and ways to act, because in confusion, people attach to anyone who's got a steady voice. That's the reality. That's, people are funny little skittish animals like that. Have a steady voice and say, here is another path. Here's a thing we could do, and you'll be able to. It's,
you say that, but we're still only at 823 subscribers, so they're not sticking too hard, clearly.
Well, it's not me, even other people. There are leftists now. We're seeing the damn break where people are like, I'm done, I'm running. And you can start to see this action happening over the last couple months, and it's getting more and more acute. And as we near the next set of elections, we are going to see people primarying Dems. We're going to see a more populist version of the Justice Dems, I think. And we're going to see that on the Republican side as well, I think, because shit is going to get really, really bad.
And on that happy note,
it's our best
Thank
option.
you very much for joining us. Remember to subscribe to In the Fold if you haven't already. Hit the bell, otherwise you won't get notifications because subscribing doesn't count anymore. However, we still need 1,000 subscribers in order to get to partnership. We are very close. We are under 200 subs away. And
share with friends. Tell them about us, please. Otherwise, tomorrow
don't tell about him. Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll have more.
Tomorrow we'll have more.